Okay guys, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you're coming back in now. I do apologize for before, guys. This is the haircut that Graham was doing. Can someone please give me a thumbs up just to make me aware if you can hear me okay? I'm going to try and talk loudly and I'm going to try and make sure you can hear everything we're saying. Good, thank you so much for giving me that thumbs up. So, I'm going to show you what Graham's been working on. While Graham obviously dries the hair, I'm going to talk you through what he did. So initially, this is the side that Graham initially cut. And what he did was he took a vertical section in the back from the crown to the nape. He pulled the hair out. He established his length at the crown and his length at the nape. To be able to understand and control those two lengths, he took vertical sections. Now before he cut that first section, what he did is he put an area of disconnection in the top. The area of disconnection in the top was a circular zone which was split into two. Hopefully you can see it. Can everyone hear me okay now? If you can hear me okay, please give me the thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. I do apologize for the sound before, guys. Excellent, okay. Thank you guys, thank you. So basically we had a circular area of disconnection. Graham then split that disconnection into two zones. He's going to work that at the end. So if I work you through and discuss with you how he cut this particular shape so far. He took a vertical section from the crown to the nape. The reason he took a vertical section is because it enabled him to control the length at the crown and the length at the nape. He worked a parallel vertical section, so in other words, a secondary vertical section, and directed the roots from number 2 to section number 1. The cutting line of section number 1 was longer at the crown, shorter at the middle of the head with the occipital bone, and then slightly shorter at the nape. Once he cut those two vertical sections, he then took horizontal sections at the nape, pulled the hair horizontally. That way now what he's doing, he's able to control the length from the front a lot more by taking a horizontal section. He then worked up the back of the head horizontally, establishing and maintaining length at the front of the shape. Okay? Once he did that, he then took the length of the crown and the length at the front here, took a horizontal section at the top, lifted the hair above the base and cut a length that went shorter to longer. Every subsequent horizontal section working down the side, he pulled up to section number 1 here. That way what he did is he loosened the shape. Okay? Again, for the guys who are tuning in, I'm so sorry for the previous interruption with the sound. We don't really know what it was. We're figuring it, maybe it was the phone that I was using. So we've swapped to Graham's phone. Hopefully you can hear us much better now. And again, I really am sorry for the disturbance in the sound. The good thing is, we've managed to, hopefully, you obviously didn't see how Graham just cut this side. So Graham's going to walk back through it once he irons the hair. So what Graham's done now is he's worked externally first. So let me quickly, internally first. Let me quickly show you a diagram. And let me quickly talk you through the diagram because this explains how he cut the haircut. So he started on the bottom. You can see he started at the back. He took a vertical section, which is the one in the center. The reason it doesn't have a little red line in it is because he pulled it straight out from the base and cut it. Then he worked a subsequent vertical section either side, directing 2 to 1 and 2 on this side to number 1. That way he's got about an inch of hair in the center, which is a really clear guide for him to come off horizontally. So as you can see, he then worked horizontal sections up and round, okay? And what he did is he directed all that hair backwards. You can see it there in that diagram now, okay? You can obviously see that the blue line is the cutting lines. The red lines which are solid is the direction in which the hair is moving when it was being cut internally. The staggered red lines, these ones here, show the direction of the hair to the cutting line, okay? This drawing allows you to see the zones, the sectioning pattern, the method of working, and the cutting line, okay? So that's how he cut it. He's going to walk you through it one more time once he's finished ironing, and he's going to show you the cutting lines, okay? So Graham.
Yes.
We're back on, they can hear us, it's all good.
Take two.
I don't actually think it was your volume as such, I think it was my phone. So
well, I think last week you cut everyone off with Annie on Thursday, and then this week it's the phone.
You know, me technology, hey.
Next week's going to be with Kate.
Yeah. So you're going through and you're ironing the hair now?
I am, yes.
So talk me through how you iron, what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm just going through and ironing, and now because I've really focused on my blow dry, I don't have to, because I've focused on my roots, I don't really need to focus my attention on the roots when I'm ironing. All I'm trying to do now is just add shine to the hair. I'm not trying to change my blow dry at all. So I'm taking fine sections, and then I'm literally just not concentrating on the root. I'm looking more at the ends through here and just putting a slight bevel on the hair, because I don't want the hair to sit really straight. I don't want anything like that. I still want the hair to be able to look like it's moving as we come through. So I'm just finishing this middle column, and I'm going to iron the length behind the ear, and then I'm going to walk you through how I actually cut it and show you some of the lengths that I created through here. And what I really like so far, if John, if you come around and have a look, I really like this profile shape through here already. Seeing that length up, it just sits just above the actual occipital bone. And then later on, my idea is actually to lift this up quite high at the back through here.
I'm glad you just said that. Susan, thank you for your question. Are you going to cut the bottom off? So at the moment, Susan, Graham basically has worked all of his internal shape. All of his internal lengths have been chosen based on what he wants the length of the crown to be, and what he wants the lengths at the moment, the weight distribution within the internal lengths. The external lengths, which would be classed as, say, for example, the outlines, at the moment were irrelevant, because he can adapt the outlines if he wants. For example, Susan, just to answer your question, he could now take the external lengths all the way up like that and completely change the shape. He could drop it down. He could work slightly more parallel to the floor. So the external lengths can always be decided as long as the internal lengths are long enough to give you the options that you want.
But also, I could actually, if I wanted to, say if you think about this in a salon scenario, and your client wanted the hair to actually move out or flick out, I could actually leave the external lengths as they are. So it all depends when it comes down to more your consultation on what the actual client want the lengths to actually do. Because you could leave them so they actually bend out and move around. Or
so it's a bit softer.
Yeah, rather than too hard.
That's actually looking quite beautiful, even though you haven't done anything to the outlines.
No.
Once you pop an outline in that, I bet it's going to really come to life.
But it's going to change it. I always think when you actually do your internal lengths first and then put an outline on it, I always imagine it as a picture without a frame. I think a frame always changes how a picture actually looks. Okay, so I've come through. Now I'll start picking the hair up so you can actually see it. So
let me come on that side, G.
Yeah. So I started vertically, section number 1 in the centre back. So I'm just going to pick that up for you and show you. So section number 1 in the centre back, I picked it up. Now I wanted my lengths to be longer towards the top. So think of my vertical direction of hair as it runs through section number 1. If you look at the root, it's all going to be below its base. Section number 2 on either side of the head, the direction of the hair, depending on what side I'm standing on, is either going to be left or right horizontally. Then what I've done, I've come through horizontally because I wanted to control the length from the centre behind the ear and in front through here. So then section number 1 at the bottom, using my vertical length as a guide, making sure I'm using the same direction of hair, how high I lift it up or down, looking for the strength in the guide. And then my lengths increased towards behind the ear, so then my lengths got longer. I then worked horizontal sections towards the top. I then came through and cross-checked vertically. So if we just have a look, I'll just come through and pick up a length behind the ear. So then, because I'm working vertically, I want to control the length that I have less control of. So then I come through, using the same direction of hair, I'm going to come through. Then that way I can check to make sure that it's clean.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Okay, so then what I'm going to do, just quickly is what Johnny was talking about before. I'm going to take 2 horizontal sections, starting from the top, from here. I'm going to use my thumb to hold the hair out the way instead of a clip. And then from here, using the same direction of hair vertically at the back. From here.
Your sound is perfect, by the way, now. Thank you, Ina.
So from there, and then I'm going to work from shorter to longer this way. Working cleanly. So then what this is going to do is just going to add a little bit more movement and softness towards the front through here. And because I'm using the same direction of hair, as it sits in, it's just going to sit really softly, so there's not going to be any visible weight line or anything like that. So then I'm going to come through section number 2. I'm going to come through here, groom that hair out of the way, working as cleanly as possible. And from here, again, just bring that up to section number 1 through there.
Can I ask you a question, Graham?
Of course you can.
First of all, guys, for those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. We apologise for the technical problem we had before. Gee, you're getting loads of love. Beautiful shape, fantastic shape. Guys, if you have any questions and you want to throw them at Graham, please feel free to. Now we've got a bit more control over this thing and you can hear us properly. This can run a little bit smoother than it was before. So, Graham,
yes.
Why are you standing on that? Why were you standing on that side of the head and directing the hair in that way? Why did you not stand on, say, the same side as you were cutting? What's the logic in that?
So the logic behind that, if I'm standing behind it, so I've just brought it up, so I'm not going to lift it up again.
It's okay.
But if I'm standing there, then I can lift the hair towards myself. It's just easier for my body position. If I'm standing in front, it's going to be a lot more difficult just because of where my elbow position is.
Gotcha.
It's easier to lift over the top. You can do it like that. If you're tall, you probably can do it like that way, but I'm a little bit short. So.
Right, so now you're going to start to cut the external lengths, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to bang this off. So, I'm going to bring this up as high as possible. I'm going to put the head upright. I'm actually going to start from the front. Johnny, if you zoom into that length.
Are you going to use any product, or have you used any products?
I've used a little bit of hairspray, but now I'm going to use the super strong one from Davines More Inside. Great product to actually secure the hair into place. So I'm just going to comb that through. I don't want it to be super strong, but there we go. That's just going to sit nicely for me.
Perfect.
John, if you zoom into that there for me.
Okay.
So I'm going to start from that point there. So at the minute, what you probably can see when you actually look is how my external length is sitting at the minute is more to do how the hairline is. But from here now, I'm just going to start to cut an external length in. And I'm not trying to chip it off.
That's looking killer.
I'm just trying to actually just get the length off quickly, and then I'll do the refining after.
So you're getting rid of the bulk, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of people trying to do this straight away, when actually you've got a lot of length to cut off. So just go straight in for the kill, get rid of the length.
Hello, Andrea. Hi, George. Hey, Jesus. Hi, Ben. Hey, Ina. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Please feel free to share the video by putting the share button on the bottom. Now we can get a bit more daylight. There you go. That's looking beautiful, mate.
So, from there, I'm going to work right up. So I want the length to get shorter into the back. From there.
We've got a question here from Susan. Susan, thank you for your second question. I really appreciate it. Did you take any hair below the parietal ridge, to layer? That's the question that she's asking.
Layer. So when should we actually do lengths through here in that area?
Yeah, I think that's what she's referring to.
Yeah, so I've actually cut the length shorter in that area just to create a little bit more movement. If you understand that more by saying layering, that's absolutely no problem. We would just tend to call it more internal lengths. So I'm just making sure the head is upright.
So basically, G, what you're doing is you're just getting the shaping quite rapidly, and then you're going to spend time refining it.
Yeah, we can.
That's beautiful.
Spend some time refining it. Just making sure. To be honest, just making sure the head is upright. That's my key thing at the minute.
So making sure the head shape is in the right position.
Yeah, because obviously when you're working in a salon, you would have a mirror, so you'd be able to see. But with a mannequin, I just need to stand in front and make sure the head is sitting how I want it to sit.
So this is the key really to controlling your balance,
Yeah.
or one of the factors.
So from here now, I'm just going to literally work from one side to the other, I think.
Let me come around that side again. Let me catch this. Sorry.
From there, and I'm just going to start washing that off.
I love watching that happen.
It's the favourite bit, right?
Yeah. It just makes the whole shape come alive, doesn't it?
It's like now, if you look at the profile, if I take that away.
That is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, from there to there.
And that's obviously without you refining it. That's literally you just
That's just combing the
getting
hair
it
down
in.
and just getting rid of it. And then after, what I might actually do to refine it is actually just use the clippers on this type of hair.
Okay, we've got another question here from Ben.
Hi Ben.
Is there any advantage to starting internal
Yeah.
for different hair textures or quantities, or does it come to where you want the most control?
It's a great question. Thanks, Ben. So really, it all comes down to you and what you want to control. For me, when I at the beginning of my career, shall we say, I would tend to always, I know that word I try and get away from using, and I don't really use it anymore, but I would tend to always start with my external length because it felt more safer. If a client comes in and says, I want my length to be here, then you cut the length in first. But nowadays what I've learned is by actually putting my internal length in first, I can actually just cut my external length like now in one section.
So you're aiming for this length here in the front there?
Yeah, just aiming to get longer through there.
So this is basically the guide that Graham's aiming for, and that length there was achieved by when he cut the internal length on the top.
So it should just be all getting longer.
Got a beautiful compliment here from Kez saying, so precise, I love it. Ron saying, beautiful shape. Jennifer saying, wonderful. I'm assuming Jennifer could be from Germany maybe, I'm not sure. That's looking really good, mate. So basically you're club cutting all the external lengths, aren't you?
Everything I've done is club cutting. I've not pointed into anything like that. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't point into it, and when I come through in a minute, I might just come through and point into everything just to soften the whole shape. But I really wanted my internal lengths to create that movement rather than just...
So now's the time where you're basically going to start to refine, aren't you?
Yeah, so now from here, I'm going to just stand in front. I'm going to change my body position a little bit more now.
I'm going to come over your shoulder, Gia.
Refine a little bit more through here, just using the points of the scissors. Get the points right underneath.
That's looking killer, mate. Absolutely killer. So why now are you using a chipping technique? Tell me the difference between a chipping technique and a...
Sure. So club cutting I'm using really just to get length off quickly. I'm really just looking to get my balance in when I'm using the club cutting. I'm not messing around, I'm just getting the length off. Now with the actual chipping, I can almost point a straight line. And what you notice as I'm pointing, I point and pull out, point and pull out. So then that way the hair doesn't move. So I'm almost retracting the scissor blade a little bit more through there. And what I could also do is actually get a clipper through here. And then just very gently, just run over the top of that, just to refine it. If you're working in a salon scenario, this is a very quick way of actually refining the hair. And if I was in a salon, I would be utilising my mirror a lot. Then that way I can help me understand and see everything.
I've got a question here again from Ben. Ben, thanks for all your questions, man. Brilliant. Can you also flatten the line with chipping?
As in, take a little bit more weight out of it, you think?
What Ben's kind of referring to is by chipping, can you flatten the shape a little bit, or does it kind of soften a line?
Yeah, it will do. It's going to remove an element of weight, shall we say, through there, so it will flatten it almost. Definitely.
Thank you, Ina. It's very sweet of you. So the haircut's looking really good. Loads of questions. Charlene is saying, can you start this video from the beginning? Charlene, I wish I could, darling. But by all means, when this video's finished, Graham's still got a lot of work to do. But once it's finished, you'll be able to obviously recap a little bit in regards to what Graham's done. And I'm sure he's going to recap towards the end.
So now I'm just giving myself a little bit of distance, so then that way I can see, maybe look at it in the phone just so I can see.
It's looking killer, huh?
Yeah. And you know, that's the beauty with these. What I love about the mannequin head I'm using, these are our own mannequin heads. Because of the colour of the hair and the colour of the skin, it really brings out external lengths actually on there, and it makes it so easy to actually see what you're doing.
So we've got a question here. We've got two questions here. The first one is, would this hairstyle work on baby fine hair? That's Debbie. Debbie, thank you for your question. And if I scroll down, this is from Jennifer. What's the name of the artist? He is so fantastic. So this is the artist. His name is Graham Holborn. He is an absolute genius, probably one of the best that I know. Don't get a big head and don't get all red and embarrassed. Can you please answer the question regarding the fine hair?
Yeah, of course I can. I think personally, any haircut can fit anybody. It all comes. What's the lady's name?
Gee, that looks absolutely sick, honestly.
It all comes down to choice of length at the end of the day, and what you want the hair to do. So if the hair's baby fine, do you want to be creating shorter internal lengths inside? More than likely not. You want to leave something. Maybe what I would do is actually start with the external length first, and that way you can actually create or maintain weight in there. Sorry, just my balance.
I can see you're checking your balance now, yeah? So talk us through very quickly. So obviously Graham's already kind of worked this side. He's also used the scissors, he's used chipping, he's used club cutting, and he's used the clipper to refine the line. Then he's gone around the front and he's made sure the head is upright. He's repositioned his body so that he's eye level. And he's looking at it. Obviously, you could do that with a mirror usually, but he doesn't have that luxury because he's in my front room, in my dining room.
I'm just going to try and get this side against that white wall, so that it really brings it out a little bit more. So then that way I can stand back and look at it and give myself more perspective. So I'm just going to stand back as much as I can, maybe even look in the phone. Yeah, I mean, it's
getting there, mate. It's getting there.
Could it be cleaner? Yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, also in a salon scenario.
So you're getting actually slightly underneath the shape now, aren't you?
Yeah, just slightly getting the scissors. If you zoom in, can you see those shorter hairs there that I'm aiming for?
They're underneath.
It's not necessarily the hair on top that I'm trying to cut, it's more the hair on the underneath.
So it's like the hairline, isn't it, really?
Yeah. If you imagine, this is how I like to imagine it, if you've got, say, like a telephone directory, almost like the Yellow Pages or something like that, if you hold it upright, and the head's upright, but when you tip the Yellow Pages slightly forward, or a telephone directory, all of the pages come out from the underneath. And that's what you're almost trying to do just through here, is I'm just trying to really just chip away, just these shorter hairs through this area here. And then again, I can just come through.
So I've got another question here from Andrea.
Andrea?
Andrea. Do you ensure when you create your external lengths, the start one side and finish and then move on to the other side to check the balances? Or do you, in other words, do you cut one side first and then get it perfect and then go the other side? How do you tend to work it? Let me come around this way so you can see, G.
That's a great question. Thanks, Andrea. To be honest, what I would tend to do is, you got me thinking what I would do actually. I'd probably get the length off quickly on both sides and then have a look at my balance and see how it's going and get a rough balance in, and then I'd refine one side really nicely and then I'd refine the other side. That's how I'd approach it.
You're getting lots and lots and lots of love. Guys, for those of you who are tuning in, please feel free to share this. Let's get lots of people to view this beautiful haircut that Graham's doing. Okay. I mean, you can see the precision of it. Let me come around the front and check the balance.
So let me just turn it this way for you. What's putting me off slightly is because my section's off. And
this connection's off.
That's putting me slightly off, but actually I think the balance is...
Yeah, it's looking really good. Let me come in. So you're using the clipper to almost grade the edges. Talk to me about that.
I'm just very, very gently going over with the clipper through here. Just because the hair texture is quite thick on these mannequins, I can afford to do that. And almost if I went skimming over the top, what it's going to do is slightly almost bevel the hair in a little bit for me.
It literally just dips that corner off the bottom, doesn't it? I mean, that's looking killer, mate. Absolutely killer.
Alright, so for the minute, I'm happy. We can get the rest off. And then we can refine once everything else is dry.
So guys, like Ina's mentioned, obviously, and Ben's mentioned, we had the curly look that I did last Tuesday with Hairbrain. Then we had Annie do a beautiful colour using the Davines colour on Davines Education on Facebook. On Facebook. And then what we did was, again today, Graham's doing a beautiful haircut for Hairbrained. And on Thursday, we have the amazing Evie, who's going to colour this exact mannequin. So she's going to, again, come to my house and she's going to be colouring the mannequin for you. I'm not sure what colours she's going to be doing. I'm pretty sure she's going to be doing something which is focused on the struggles that people are having at the moment in the salons, going back after the lockdown. You know, people colouring their own hair, making mistakes, things like that.
I'm just dampening the hair down. I'm using another Davines product. I'm using Didi or Dede, however you like to say it. And this is an actual, almost like a detangler, so it's amazing on hair. I use it on all clients. And
let me come on that side.
The product, I'll move that way. So now, I'm working on the top zone at the back, closer towards the top of the head. And I'm taking a section that runs from this front section to the top of the head.
So technically it's going to the area where the length was before, wasn't it?
Yeah, the back. So now I have a decision to make. I could connect it into the length I already have, or if I wish to, I could leave it longer and disconnect it. Or if you wanted to go really creative, maybe you could actually take it shorter in that area through there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come through, I'm going to look at that length through there, and I'm actually going to connect it through. Because I know I'm going to leave this length longer, I'm going to use this length here, and then my lengths are going to increase, and I'm going to put the comb behind. I'm going to cut this quite quickly, move in, and I'm going to get this length off. So my lengths are increasing towards the front ever so slightly, just so then that way I'm creating more movement towards the front there. So then this way, I'm just going to take that slightly shorter there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take section number 2, and I'm going to direct section number 2 back to my previous section, or in the direction of my previous section.
So it's 2 to 1 at the moment.
So then 2 is longer than 1.
Let me come on there so I can catch it. Let's look at the root. So what are you looking at now, and why are you looking at it?
I'm focusing on what's going on behind my fingers. Obviously it's important to cut it cleanly, absolutely, but focusing on what's going on behind my fingers, then that way I can understand if the lengths are going to be doing what I want them to do. And then obviously, once I get my fingers up here, I can then look at my guide. So I'm just combing the hair once, cutting it, and then moving on.
Gee, can we do me a favour? Can we flip it round so that the white I've got a white background for people to see?
So this way?
Yeah, then that way you cut, so I've got a white background here.
That way.
Thanks, mate.
So then this is section number 3. Coming to section number 2.
So how do you guarantee that section number 2 is basically coming towards like where I'm standing? How do you guarantee that?
So again, it's looking at the root, but it's looking at the root from the other way. So I can be looking at the root this way, but then what I need to be doing is looking at the root. Imagine if I had a mirror here, what I could then do is look in front of my fingers to make sure this hair is travelling back this way in that direction.
It's looking amazing, and the feedback you're getting is like you're getting lots of love, G. It's a beautiful haircut.
I'm quite surprised after 4 months of not cutting hair, to be honest.
Yeah, it's looking killer, honestly. I mean, yeah, the haircut always comes alive as soon as you start to work externally.
That's it.
It just the internal lengths just pop.
Yeah,
like, once you frame them.
About, with the frame, it's like a picture of the frame. So again, on the opposite side now.
So we've got a question here from Jennifer, and the question is it a Sassoon technique or question mark, exclamation mark?
Exclamation mark. I think that's a good question. So with that sort of question, is it a Sassoon technique? I mean, I guess if you go back to the history and things like that, I guess, you know, the way we all sort of cut hair nowadays is coming back from one sort of area. But the way that obviously now we tend to think of things is just a progression of certain things. So how we're actually talking about things.
We've got another question here. We is so important. This is from George. Yeah. We are so important. Combing one, cutting once. So I'm assuming he's meaning, is it important to have a philosophy of combing it once and cutting it once? And what's the benefit of that?
So actually what George is talking about, for instance here, I'm just going to pull the hair out, I'm going to see my guide, I'm going to look at my root and I'm just going to cut it. I'm not going to keep combing the hair. Now the benefit of doing this is that you're just going to work through your shape quickly, but it also shows that you're confident in your technique and your understanding in what you're doing. When I see people just combing their hair constantly, it's they're just almost too scared to cut that piece of hair.
In case they make the wrong decision.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just about, just do it.
I've got a question. Gee, I've got a question.
Yeah,
just now,
yeah.
when you're taking the section you're about to cut, you actually sectioned off section 1 and section 2, and you used section 3 as the guide to now cut, let's say, section 4.
Yeah.
How come you comb section 2 and 1 away?
So in that way, when I'm doing that, if you come in closer through there, I'll just show you guys what you're talking about. So I've literally moved these sections out of the way.
Yeah.
What that allows me to do, it allows me to see the root and the skin on either side of my section.
Gotcha.
So I can see the direction of hair.
Gotcha.
On either side, and then I'm just going to.
You're going to cross check this now, aren't you? Let me come from the front and film from above. This is the moment of truth, people.
Yeah. No,
this is where the pressure hits it.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's shockingly bad for you, Graham.
It is actually.
Get out of it. That's killer.
So yeah, just. But do you know what actually? If I can say something,
that's brilliant.
Actually, is the one thing I think when I've changed a lot through now is that when I was being hard on myself, I guess the most important thing for me was getting everything really clean. And now when I'm teaching, actually, it's not necessarily how clean it is, because cleanliness is going to come with time. It's more about understanding, are the lengths doing what you want them to do? And are the lengths increasing, staying consistent, or decreasing? And if they are, perfect. If they're not clean, doesn't matter. Cleanliness will come with time. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is what the lengths are actually doing.
So guys, for those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. The love you're getting is like, people are really enjoying watching you cut this.
So, last one.
Last zone, okay. So this zone, let me just zoom into this. This is the zone that Graham is now working on, okay? And you can see already that the length's going to be longer than the length at the top. So let's have a look, and Graham can talk us through that.
Yeah, so I'm just literally just going to dampen this down.
Let me come on this side.
So now I want this length to be longer than the length that it is behind.
So do you use day like on every zone, and why?
I mean, for me, because what I need to be mindful of is where this hair's all been clipped up, it started to dry. So the hair's dried in this area through there. So I need to be dampening the hair down as I work. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to work. So my parting or my zone is going to create one side of my section through here. I'm going to groom that hair out of the way. So then now it allows me to see my root. And then through here, pick this hair up.
Got a question here from Ben.
It, Ben.
This is an interesting question. Is his vertical shape round at the front?
So Ben, how I would describe it now, what my lengths are actually doing are going to be more consistent. So the lengths are actually staying consistent. As a company, we try and stay away from shapes and trying to talk more about what the lengths are doing in different areas. So for instance here, what I need to be mindful of is that root coming out of the base. So through here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to place my fingers on the roundness of the head. Through here, I'm going to pull straight out. Now I know that length is longer than this pre-existing length that we have here. You can see that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to literally cut only to the point where the hair is coming out from its base, because the hair here is not coming out from its base, it's being directed below.
So what you're talking about, what G's talking about now is literally the roots. Look at the roots, yeah?
So I'm only cutting the hair that's coming out of the base. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to place my comb in, I'm going to place my fingers in, I'm going to pull straight out. And now I'm focusing on, is that root coming out of the base? If yes, then I'm going to cut. If no, I'm going to recomb it until it is. And from there.
So in effect, G, if I'm right in understanding, what you've done is you've taken a section which is this wide, and you're cutting it in small bite sizes to manage the direction of the roots.
So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to comb my hair down, and I'm going to just visually see how that's sitting. So then I just sitting across through there.
Cute.
Okay. So And now I'm going to separate that so I can see my root on either side of my section.
So,
and then,
so you're halving section 1 now?
Yeah, almost just halving it a little bit.
So it was quite a large section, wasn't it, really?
You don't have to. I prefer to. You know, there's people out there that would say not to, but you know, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. So I've got a question here, G.
Yeah.
When we used Day Day,
Yeah.
and when we use milk oil, use a cutting lotion. So I think when would you use
it?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. There you go.
Sort of hair textures. So for me, oil milk is another great product. I did use it on the hair earlier, but I've only used it once.
Let me show them. Let me show you guys. So this is the product that. These are the 2 products that George is asking about. They're obviously Davines products, and this is Day Day, and this is Oil Milk. And the difference is the consistency. So Day Day is much more water-based, it's much softer, it's much better as a cutting lotion, whereas the Oil Milk is beautiful to condition the hair, can leave a residue, but it's very, very moisture-driven. The problem with using this as a cutting lotion is it can very, very much overload the hair, and that could be a problem when you're blow drying it. So you only really need to spray a little bit, and then you can stop with the milk and focus more on the Day Day.
Yeah.
So what's happening now with the roots?
Now I'm just making sure that I'm not cutting. See here, look, my section's just got a little bit messy. I don't want to cut the hair that I previously cut underneath. So I'm going to take that hair out of the way
Gotcha.
through there. So then my section is still clean from the previous section. And I'm just directing this last section slightly to the previous. So then that way I just increase in length just in that last
Can you hold it there, G? Hold it there 1 second. So that's the roots. You can see where the roots are being directed slightly forward.
This way, they're just moving that way.
And if you look from this way, they're moving above the base basically, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So from there, and then last bit now. And I'm going to comb that down and visually check and just see if I need to remove any more length, just see if it's too long before I start to blow dry. So visually just have a look, see how that sits. I think that's fine for now. And then obviously these sorts of lengths can just sit a little bit more looser once we've blow dried it all. I don't necessarily want too much of a parting. Then once it's dry, I'll look at those lengths as well through there. So I'm going to dampen the hair down just so we get rid of some of the zones in there. Doesn't matter if some of the hair on the underneath gets wet, I'm not bothered by that. Actually, overloading the hair a little bit with product is actually going to add some shine to it. Just dampen that hair down almost so it's all sitting at its natural full.
Can I ask you a question, Jay? So this kind of style,
yes.
1 minute, what are you using now?
So now I'm using, for more inside Davines, I'm using the volume mousse. I really, really like it. I'm a 90s hairdresser, and when I was training, mousse was the big thing, and I've never really stopped, to be honest.
Why mousse?
For me, what I like about it is that it gives the hair something, as in it makes the hair almost a little bit dirty. Obviously you don't want to use too much, but I think mousses and products has come on so much nowadays that it doesn't do what mousses used to do, where it can actually make the hair quite crispy. But nowadays, mousse for me is like my favourite product. I use this mousse all the time.
There's a question here from George. He's asking whether or not you used a round brush to blow dry the hair.
I haven't today, actually. I've only used my ceramic vest brush from Alelon, and just my irons. I haven't used any round brushes on this. Could I? Yes, I could, definitely.
There's a question here. Is this doll head or wig, Johnny? So this is actually an Alelon mannequin. We have them manufactured specifically for us. There's certain things that we've had changed to make them a bit more specific for us. The fact that the skin is white makes it really, really graphic when working externally. All the hair in the roots have been placed straight upwards so that it all in effect falls to the natural fall. So if you basically cut it well, you can really see it. If you cut it wrong, you can really, really see it. Also at the back there is a little A in the centre back, and that gives you a little centre point to help you control your balance. The hair is very, very dense, so that way you can really create some amazing shapes. and build a lot of depth to the shape. So if you want to inquire about the mannequins, if you want to go on email info@aliloneducation.com. So that's info@aliloneducation.com. If you want to message us there, or visit our website www.aliloneducation.com, www.aliloneducation.com. You can visit the shop and look at all the different teaching tools that we have, cutting equipment, drying equipment, anything you need or anything that we use, we sell on our shop, including the mannequins. So, this kind of shape, G, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a very commercial look. I mean, I could see you doing this really easily in the salon. Which one of our courses tend to have these kind of shapes? And is there anything happening at the moment that you can maybe refer to in regards to?
Yeah. So let me just turn the speed down a little bit for you. While I'm just wrapping around there. So for us, I mean, 2020 obviously has been a difficult year for everybody. You know, this year we actually had like one of the largest amounts of courses that we had in our UK Academy. And we were really excited because of our new courses, especially one which is called Salon Course, which is something that we were excited about. And this is a look that we could definitely be doing on a salon course. But even more exciting now, coming from the 1st of September, we're actually opening up our own online studio. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And you're actually going to be able to do step-by-step haircuts on Zoom, online, with an Alilon educator, doing looks like this, salon-friendly commercial looks. I'm just going to finish wrap drying this hair. You can see that I'm not worrying about any specific parting or anything like that. I'm just getting the hair to move. I'm really focusing on the root, getting the hair as hot as possible. And then I'm just going to come through very gently with the iron. I almost quite like the little lumps I'm getting through there. It doesn't really bother me. I like it just to have that movement in it. I don't want it sitting flat to the head in that area.
Guys, if you look on the bottom, I'm just typing in the website and also the email address if you would like to inquire about any education or any tools or equipment. These are the ways to get in touch.
So now I'm just really almost lifting the root. I want to add a little bit of volume into that. I want the hair to move. You know, I could even just get my hands in a little bit. Just allow the airflow to get into that. See how the hair is moving.
So we've got a question here from Jarina Mohammed.
Yes.
She wants to know the address, please, and which place is this? So we're in London. We're actually in my home. We're in my what would be considered as my dining room. And Graham is doing a beautiful haircut, obviously for you guys. Really, really cool salon look, which you're going to see him refine and personalize once he's finished drying. Obviously, Graham's turned the hair dryer down, which slows down the blow dry process, but at least you can hear us better. So guys, for those of you who are watching, let me just do a very, very quick recap while Graham irons the hair. Are you going to use any product before you iron, or not really?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, so this is the shape that Graham is cutting, guys. He has actually basically cut the shape, but he's going to walk back through it towards the end of this and really talk through step by step what he's done. Let me quickly walk you through our diagram board. So again, if you're interested in the diagram boards, you could obviously purchase them from Alilon Education at the website or email us and we can arrange that for you. So the color code in the bottom, let me zoom in on that. That will help you understand what everything means. Okay, once you understand the key is probably one of the most important parts of the diagram, okay? This diagram shows how Graham cut the shape. The black lines represent the sectioning pattern that he was using. You can see he started off vertically in the back, for 3 sections. Then he came off horizontally through to the side. It's a beautiful drawing, I think, by Graham. Very precise, very clean. The internal red lines, these ones here, are basically showing the direction of the root movement. So section 1 and 2 was pulled down to section 1, 3 was pulled down to section 2, and so forth, thus increasing in length vertically. And then you can see as the sections went round, the hair was directed backwards. The roots were pulled backwards in order for them to increase the length within the horizontal lengths. Then he cut the external lengths and then moved into the crown, which was the second zone that he cut. And then the third zone was basically the fringe area. So I'm going to zoom back out. So Graham, now that you're ironing the shape, obviously you're putting in the finishing touches of this. Yeah. And you are basically trying to simply close the cuticle and get a nice shine in the hair, aren't you?
I just want to shine on the actual hair. And then as I'm actually ironing and drying the hair, I'm taking a moment to see how the hair is sitting at natural fall. Looking to see what my next steps are, always thinking about what I'm going to be doing. You know, am I going to personalise it? Am I going to look over my external length? What areas I need to focus on? So once I've finished ironing, I'm just going to come through and personalise the lengths that I created on top, but also just moving it around, looking to see how it sits. I want something that is very movable and very salon friendly, and as I was saying before, something that you'd be doing working with disconnection on one of our salon courses, either in our academy space or from the 1st of September, actually doing it with us live on Zoom. So from the 1st of September, you'll be able to start booking in either live demonstrations, cut-along classes, guided colour, is that the name?
Yep, correct.
Coming through, even colour courses live as well. And also we're going to have a subscription service as well, where we're actually going to be doing step-by-step haircuts that you're going to be able to subscribe to our...
Colours and cuts, yeah?
Colours and cuts, subscribe to it, and then you're going to build up a catalogue, things that you're going to be able to watch whenever you want to in the freedom of your own home, which is going to be great because it's going to add to everything that we've already built up. You know, we've got the academy, we can travel to you, but also now in the comfort of your own home and do haircuts by yourself as well, or colours by yourself as well, which is great. It's a great opportunity because the world's changed, hasn't it?
So there's a question here from Romulo. Hi mate, are you guys travelling this year? I have an upcoming class in September in Montreal, and I was just wondering if you guys got any info on that. So it's interesting that you've asked that. The answer is yeah, because I was literally speaking to somebody 2 hours ago regarding that. The date is going to go ahead. Thank you, Graham. Let me come around this way. The date is going to go ahead at the moment. Obviously, depending on lockdowns and you know, for example, if people have you know, a second wave and so forth, people just obviously, they're open to change. They understand the circumstances are what they are. So people are obviously conscious of that. So the class will be going along. So please get in touch with your sales reps. But talk me through this, G. What are you doing?
I'm just keeping my scissors parallel to the hair. I'm not trying to come in at an angle or anything like that.
You're literally going directly in, aren't you?
Straight in.
There you go.
Then that way, I'm just softening. I'm not coming in at an angle. This way, I'm actually going to...
You're not changing the line, are you? Yeah.
Like that.
You're just changing the density, aren't you?
Yeah. I just want to give the hair a little bit more freedom.
How do you know how deep to go?
Great question. So just let me pick this up. So it all depends on really how much density do you want to move. You know, I could do this much if I wanted to remove more density in it, but at the minute I just want to come in maybe the first 2 centimeters of it just to really soften that out. Not trying to change anything.
There's a really good question here, G, from a guy called Lee Brown. Lee, this is a really good question. So the question is, and this is a really common thing which people are affected by. Yeah. Is there a way to correct when a bob on the right side flips up and the left goes under? And you don't want the flip out. You don't want to flip it out.
Great question.
Sorry about my reading.
That's a really, it said Lee, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lee. And you know, that's a massive problem that we tend to find in a salon scenario all the time. And what it all comes down to, unfortunately, is choice of length.
Correct.
So when you're actually doing how we teach our staff, either in ENA or people coming on courses, is actually understanding your consultation and understanding what you're looking at. So for instance, when we start a consultation, we're going to look at something that we have with the hair. We're going to be looking at the movement, we're going to be looking at the roots. So we break it down into fixed and variable analysis. Now fixed analysis is things that you can't change at present. So when you're actually looking at the hair density, the hair texture, the hair movement. And then the variable analysis are things that you can change. So your choice of length is going to be one of them. So when you actually have the hair wet and the client sitting in front of you, you need to be able to look and choose that if the hair's flicking out on this side, well, if she only wants to lose a centimetre, is that centimetre going to get rid of that flip, or do you need to go shorter? Then you have to think of, well, does the client want to go that short? And then you need to be able to understand or explain to a client that if I do go shorter, this is going to be more beneficial for you. And it's being confident to be able to say to a client, you need to take that off to get rid of that flip. If you don't want that flip, then this is what we need to do. So unfortunately, it all just comes down to choice of length. It's not necessarily the technique that you're doing.
I completely agree with what Graham is saying. And the only thing I would add to that is, for example, when you're talking about external lengths flicking in specific ways, obviously there's the growth pattern element of that, and there's a massive factor, which is obviously the choice of length. But there's also the weight distribution of the internal lengths. So, for example, you might cut the external lengths to resemble, the shape that kind of runs parallel to the floor. But if the internal lengths the weight has been reduced or removed, that obviously can release texture and allow texture to move. So really think about how much weight needs to be maintained on that external length, and think about the choice of length, like Graham was saying, in regards to controlling that movement. Gee, that's looking really beautiful. How do you know when to stop pointing? Yeah. And, are you going to go back over your external length again? Because obviously once you bring the length down from above, it can affect the way the external length is sitting. Do you?
I can do, but in this scenario, I'm not going to.
Okay.
For me, I'm going to comb it down and see if I need to definitely go through it. Like I've got areas here. Definitely let me turn it this way for you. So like for instance here, I've got areas. I'm just going to comb it all down.
So you're tilting the head or keeping the head upright?
No, I'm going to keep the head upright.
Okay.
So I'm just keeping it in an upright position so then the hair doesn't travel too much.
So you're lifting up the stand. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're lifting up the stand obviously to stop you bending.
Looking at my body position, and then obviously looking at these little lumps here that I can just gently chip away. So now obviously guys, what they can see is that the line is kind of distort a little bit. Yeah. Talk me through that. So would you spray it again into position and then recut it? Or? No, I would, because obviously the hair is not going to stay hairspray when the client goes out, so then it's just more about just combing it down. So you're combing it to natural fall? Natural fall, and then just visually working it now. So again, I can come in just with club cutting. So because all the weights come from above and has been placed on that, it obviously changes how the external length is looking. But I don't want it to look too sharp, like killer sharp, because at the end of the day, the hair's not always going to sit like that. The hair is going to move for the client. So there's a question here, G, about can we buy the comb and scissors from your website? The answer is yes, we can. So if you look at what Graham's doing now, guys, he's going to spend the next 5-10 minutes just really working that line, making sure that it's perfect before we style the hair to finish. You can see he's working it in small chunks, moving his body around the head, looking at it from a distance. It's much harder for Graham. I'm going to stand back so that Graham can look at it from a distance. And we're going to go in. So this is just the finishing touches really now. Mm. Again, if I wanted to, just very gently with the clippers. Just have to be really careful wearing the clippers. I've seen many people just take a chunk out of it.
But we've got lots of people loving the haircut. JB's just joined in, said amazing haircut, Graham.
Cheers, boss. Happy birthday for yesterday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Jabs. He was 24 yesterday.
Well, I thought he was 45.
Yes, such a... He's a young dad now.
Yeah.
Probably an amazing dad.
Getting no sleep. Welcome to the club.
So, G, you're literally guiding the clipper over the surface of the hair.
Just not going too deep with it, just very gentle. Again, just on this side now.
I'm loving the silhouette, mate. So there's a question here from George. Why are you using this specific comb?
Great question, George. So this is the View 105. So I'm using this actual comb just because of the teeth. So the teeth are a lot wider on one side, and this side is like a general normal width of a wider side of a comb. But with this side, it just loosens up the actual texture of the hair for me, and it's not applying too much tension, and it just allows the hair just to sit at a natural fall for me. Just very gentle.
Getting loads of love, G.
Thank you.
People are loving this shape. I think shapes like this people can relate to quite easily because they've seen it before. You know, they've seen these kind of built-up shapes at the crown, these slightly flatter silhouettes around the nape, these sharp lines. Yeah. Very commercial, very sound-friendly. Something which I think the thing is, a lot of people can see the haircut and kind of relate to it, but not necessarily always understand how to achieve it, G. So can you give us maybe 2 or 3 tips on what would you say are the key things to help you create this shape successfully? Let me come around this way.
For me, it's just understanding. What I really wanted to get people to understand tonight was to understand your decision making when you're thinking about your choices of length vertically and horizontally. So the whole reason I started with vertical sections was so I could control the length at the crown and control the length at the nape through here. And then the reason I wanted to take horizontal sections, so then that way I can control the lengths towards the front. And then that way, using the disconnection just allows me to use a little bit more, create a little bit more movement through the top and get rid of the actual parting in a way through here.
It's looking beautiful, G. Really beautiful.
And, you know, just so it moves a little bit.
Let me come around here. So you're basically moving the internal lengths and then going back over the external lengths again to make sure they're really bloody sharp, aren't they? That is, I mean, that looks beautiful, G. I mean, I'm looking at G doing this, and first of all, I'm getting jealous because I want to have a go. But second of all, it's like it's so hard to cut without a mirror doing a shape like this, and for G to get it to this kind of level without a mirror is amazing. You know, getting your balance like that, mate, is like, I mean, it's hard work with a mirror. To do it without a mirror is brilliant.
Something balanced, right? Online.
That's gorgeous. So guys, for those of you who are watching this haircut, in a couple of weeks, we literally started today to renovate our online salon studio. It will be done within the next 2 weeks, and we're looking to launch our online platform in the beginning of September. As well as the subscription, we're also going to be doing interactive online classes, which you're going to be seeing advertised very soon. And how to book them and so forth. So the idea is we're adding like an online arm to our education. We are going to be doing traveling once everything kind of unlocks itself and people start traveling again. We're able to travel again. G, you're getting lots of love. Lovely haircut. Hello from Illinois. So talk to me about this.
Oil. So I'm just using 2 pumps of this again from Davines. And I'm just using this to add some shine. So I'm going to apply the product both sides of my hand, and now I'm really just going to be styling the hair, and I'm just going to literally start from the bottom, work up, and I'm just going to get the product into the actual hair. I'm not worrying about how the style is going to look. I just want an even distribution of product and just get it right in and just start to play around with it.
So when you do that with your fingers and you rub it like that, Gene, what does that do to the cuticles? How does it make the hair react?
It's almost, in a way, you could almost say it's like almost teasing the hair with your fingers a little bit through there. Because I want the hair to have a little bit of movement. I don't necessarily want it to look too compact. And what I like to do from here, again, I'll just leave it like that. I'm going to use a hairspray. I'm going to take
Some of the hairspray.
Okay. So I'm using again the Davines, but the really strong hairspray this time.
So you've moved it all around with the oil milk, and now you're basically going to be
tease areas. That's all I'm going to tease, because other bits I like.
just kind of place the outline down, spray the outline, things like that.
Yeah, some bits like that.
I mean, that looks beautiful.
I don't want it to be, again, you know, going for salon friendly. You know, swoopy fringe. I think that's something that's quite in at the minute, this bobby sort of look. Again, not really having too much of a parting.
There's a question here from Susan. What did you put into? Would you just do me a favour, Susan? Just slightly rephrase the question so I can understand it. I think maybe she might be related to the product. So at the moment he's using, let me zoom into the product again one more time. It's the
Davines, more inside, very strong hair suit.
So this is really good for just making sure that hair does not move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's looking gorgeous. I love the profile of it. I love the texture. I love the strength of the outline. When you comb out down and put that comb through, it's going to be killer. Cool. So guys, if you've got any last minute questions, now is the time to ask. G, would you mind going from the beginning, just one last description of exactly how you cut it?
So, I'm going to turn the head this way. So I had two zones, almost if you imagine a circular zone on top here, and then almost a rectangular zone through the front here. And then I started at the back, so I used the length at the crown. So I established my length at the crown and at the nape internally first. And then I cut two sections on either side of that, and then I worked horizontally up the head, and my lengths increased towards the front. I blow dried the underneath, put an external length in, and then I cut internal length on top that was connected at the crown, and then gradually increased in length towards the front. And then my lengths from left to right increased as well. And my length at the fringe here, my lengths from, shall we say, from the profile here were actually consistent, and then they increased in length to one side. Then I blow dried and used a combination of different texturizing techniques, and then went over my external lengths, and then just went through some hairstyling techniques, and then just finished off with some hairspray and some oil just to really get a nice shine and create some movement on that. Okay guys?
Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. Please feel free to share this video. Beautiful haircut. Let me just zoom around the haircut one last time, G. Beautiful haircut here by Graham. You can see it's got loads of texture, but it's also got that strength around the external lengths. It's got that movement inside, that weight at the crown. If you do have any questions, feel free to email us at info@alanoneducation.com. We will be posting some final photographs of this after. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank Hairbrain for allowing us to do a takeover. Again, I apologise for the disruption at the beginning with the sound. Hopefully you've enjoyed this last bit. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Thursday, same time at Davines Education on Facebook.
Thank you guys.
Ciao, ciao. Tschüdigum.